Take the 4 train to 161st Street. That's where you're going to find the Subway Series. Game 1 at Yankee Stadium. Even the bases have Subway Series on them. Don Larson tossed the perfect game in the last Subway Series, throwing one to Yogi there. This kind of sets the tone. Chuck Knobloch picked off by Al Leiter in the 3rd. The Yankees failed to score in the inning. Top 4. Mike Piazza's turn to get picked off by the best pickoff artist in the game. Andy Pettit gets Piazza. Derek Jeter will run him down rather easily. Todd Zeile still up at bat, and it gets a little more kooky. Zeile, ground ball's foul, but it curves back fair. Zeile wasn't running hard. He thought it was a foul ball. Scott Brocious throws him out easily. We go to the top of the 6th. Zeile up again. He was involved in a lot of stuff. The drive off Pettit, off the very top of the wall. Looked like a home run. Maybe a fan touched it. No. It stays in the park. Timo Perez got a late start on it, didn't run hard, and he is lunch meat at the dish. Take one more look. Zeile thinks it's a home run, already punching the fist, and then says, "What? What's going on? That's gone, no?" Absolutely not. Right off the very top of the padding. That ball stays in the yard. Timo just kind of jogging, thinks it's a home run, then finally figures it out, coming into 3rd. Tries to turn it on, but he was too little, too late. He was gunned down rather easily. Andy Pettit backing up on the play. Yeah. The shutout lives. Bottom of the 6th, still no score. 2 on. Leiter facing Dave Justice. He is so clutch in the postseason. The playoff career RBI leader drives in a couple. Knobloch and Jeter. Ali, in come free. It's 2-0 Yanks. Justice coming through again. Top 7 bases bloated. Pettit facing the pinch hitter Bubba Trammell, and Bubba delivers. He finds left field with the baseball. Benny Agbayani and Jay Payton come across. This ball game is tied up at 2, and the Mets were not done in the 7th. Jeff Nelson is summoned to pitch to Edgardo Alfonso. Fonzie got very little of the baseball, but the dribbler, and he's safe, and the run scores, and the Mets take the 3-2 lead. We go to the top of the 9th. Mariano Rivera trying to keep it there. Perez, the ground ball, and Vizcaino just gets him at first. No run score in the inning. Bottom 9, Armando Benitez trying to shut it down. Paul O'Neill works out the 10-pitch walk. So Scott Brocious is coming up. Whoa, hold on. Joe Torre wants a word with you. I'm going to send up Luis Polonia and Polonia. All Joe Torre's hunches work. Polonia singles to right, men on 1st and 2nd. Bases loaded now. Chuck Knobloch gets enough of this ball. That has sac fly written all over it. O'Neill doesn't run well, but he'll score easily, and we're tied at 3, so Benitez cannot nail it down. Next batter, Derek Jeter. He does nail down Jeter, so we're going to play some extra innings. Bottom 10, 2 on. Glendon Rush comes in to face Tino Martinez. The pitch skips on Todd Pratt. Runners move up. 2nd and 3rd now. Martinez still up. Pretty much anything will get it done except that. He popped to shallow left. Look what they got Joe McEwing playing. Catches it about 10 feet off the infield dirt. Runners can't move up. After an intentional walk, bases loaded. And Paul O'Neill grounds into the 4-6-3 double play. End of inning, end of rally. Yanks leaving runners on all night. Bottom 11, Turk Wendell facing Glenn Allen Hill with a couple on. And Glenn Allen pops up to Perez and right. The Yanks strand 2 there. They stranded 15 on the night. That's a lot of lobs. Bases loaded now, bottom of the 12th. And finally, Jose Vizcaino delivers. That scores Tino, and the Yankees hold serve in Game 1. They win the marathon. 4 hours and 51 minutes, the longest game time-wise in World Series history. Vizcaino 4 for 6. Joe Torre's hunch to start Vizcaino paid off. It was the first start of the postseason for Vizcaino, so the Yankees have now won 13 straight in the World Series. That is a record. Carl Ravitch now anchoring our coverage from the Bronx.
Yes, he did do something other than throw half a shattered bat in the vicinity of Mike Piazza in Game 2, and for that part of the story, we are here to serve you, that being Rich Eisen along with Buck Showalter and Buck Martinez, a couple of Bucks. And the Yankees, throughout their dominance in the 90s, had some positive tendencies that usually showed up, one being stingy relief pitching, the other timely and patient hitting. The former did not show up on Game 2, Buck Martinez, but the latter sure did.
Well, it sure did, Rich. And all throughout this postseason, whenever the Yankee hitters are patient and work the count, they really have good nights. And we saw that in the first inning of Game 2. The big thing about the Yankees is they will really work the counts, and it's important for them to get deep into the counts and be patient hitters and be selective. And that approach worked very effectively for them in this first inning. David Justice at the plate, 3-0 count for Mike Hampton. He takes the 2-out walk. The next batter, Bernie Williams, another 4-pitch walk. That sets the table for Tino Martinez. First pitch, down and away, ball 1. Second pitch, he swings right through it. Then Hampton comes at him again. He fouls it off at the plate. But Tino has been a hot hitter throughout this postseason, takes a tough pitch down and away, and puts the Yankees up 1-0 as Justice scores. Then the next batter, Jorge Posada. Once again, a patient approach. Takes ball 1 low. Outside misses, counts in his favor. Another 3-0 pitch. And finally, it's a situation where Posada has a good idea of what he's going to get from Mike Hampton. Takes it right back up the middle. Another solid approach by a Yankee hitter. The thing that really got the Yankees off and running tonight was their patience at the plate. They made Mike Hampton pitch from behind. They had 7 2-out hits in this ball game, and that really proved important because they scored a run in the 7th, a run in the 8th, and that was the difference.
Yeah, they also got 5 walks from Mike Hampton and Buck Showalter on the other side. When a pitcher like Roger Clemens is throwing pellets, he's right around the plate. Normally, his fielders in the field are on their toes, and when the Yankees took the field in Game 2, they were nails, lights out.
I think that was another key tonight. It's a very underrated part of the Yankee ball club is their defense. It started as quickly or ended even at the end of the game was a very big play by Bellinger. Joe puts him in for defense, makes a great play in left field, but that was only a start of it. When you have a pitcher that's fielding, that's throwing the ball quickly, working quickly and throwing strikes, see here a short throw to first, short hop throw to first base. Martinez makes a play. You get a slow roller play here to Brocious. That's not a routine play. It makes as good as anybody in the American League. Now you get a hot shot down there, backhands the ball. This is the type of thing that they've done routinely. 3 of those plays were made in the same inning. And here was a big part of the game. When you get a line drive here, it looks like they're going to get something going. Justice comes in and makes a great play. But that's something that's been very common with this club, and it gets overlooked. But when you have a pitcher who's pitching that quickly, throwing strikes, and gives his defense a chance to be on their toes, they're going to make those kind of plays behind them. You know, you look at their club from at any position, you see an average to above average player defensively, and it shows up in games like this.
Well, if the New York Mets are looking for any half-full glasses, well, that 5-run ninth against the Yankee bullpen is one. And the other one, just look across the way there. The 96 Yankees were down 0-2, and ever since then, they've only won 14 straight World Series games.
Certainly, there were perceptions about Roger Clemens and his postseason performances. That may have been diminished by his last 2 outings, 17 innings, 24 Ks, no runs. As Tim Kirkshin reports, putting the Mike Piazza incidents in the rearview mirror may prove even more difficult.
Clemens winds. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Broken back foul ball off the right side, and the barrel of the bat came out to Clemens, and he picks it up and throws it back, and Piazza's walking out toward the mound.
Roger Clemens' bat toss was his only bad throw of the game, despite the wild incident in the first inning when Clemens caught the barrel of Mike Piazza's shattered bat, then threw it near Piazza. Clemens overcame his emotions, then dominated.
Before I had let go of the bat, I had no idea that Mike had ran, and I told Charlie, the umpire, that. So there was no intent. Again, yeah, fired up and emotional, and grabbed the bat to sling it towards the R-on-deck circle.
Is Clemens out of his mind? What was he thinking? I don't know what he was thinking. He wasn't thinking. That's the problem.
And when he threw the bat, I basically, after that, just walked out to see what his problem was. And I started asking him, and he really had no response. So I was, you know, like taken back. It was bizarre. It was bizarre.
Instinct, pick up a bat and throw it at somebody?
Yes.
Jesus, Christmas. See ya.
There was no intent. I'm not going to talk about it. There was no intent there. My emotions, like I said, I was running extremely high.
You have to be emotional, and you have to be passionate about this. Am I saying that he should have picked up the bat and thrown it? No.
Clemens allowed 2 hits, walked none, and struck out 9 in 8 innings. Only 1 Met got as far as second base. In his last 2 postseason starts, he's allowed 3 hits, no runs, and has 24 strikeouts in 17 innings.
He's a great pitcher. He's a Hall of Fame pitcher. He's got great stuff. He's got an overpowering fastball at times, and you know, when he has that going and his split's working the way it is, and he throws that slider, he's going to be, he's going to be tough.
I didn't think there was intimidation. You think that's why we didn't get any hits? I think it was a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and a hell of a split with a slider and good control.
What makes him dominant is when he can throw the forkball down in the zone and out of the zone and get guys to swing at it because he's got the good fastball going.
It was one of Clemens' greatest performances as a Yankee. It also evoked perhaps the most emotional outburst by Joe Torre in his 5 years as Yankee manager. Leave it to Clemens to get everyone fired up.
Reed had his heater going early and often. Asked Derek Jeter about that. Still top of the first, 1 on, 2 outs. Reed getting Bernie Williams. Hitless for the series was Bernie. Orlando El Duque Hernandez in the first. Timo Perez hitting just 100 in the World Series coming in. Edgardo Alfonso hitless in this game. 2 for 11 coming in against El Duque. Mike Piazza no better. Can't find that slider. 3 batters, 3 Ks for El Duque. Top of the second, the Ks would continue. Rick Reed all over the hot hitting Tino Martinez. And then Reed getting Posada looking. Paul O'Neill on second in the second. Reed strikes out Scott Brocious, gets out of that. Reed struck out 5 through 2 innings. Bottom 2, leadoff batter, Robin Ventura. His first pitch by El Duque, he hammers it. Ventura, 375 lifetime hitter against Hernandez. Remember, Hernandez gave up 34 homers during the regular season, 3rd most in the American League. The 3rd career postseason home run for Ventura. Hernandez then gets Zeal looking. Next batter, Benny Agbayani. He would learn from that strikeout. Next batter, Jay Payton, hitting just 170 in the postseason, going fishing. El Duque strikes out the side after that leadoff homer. 1-0 Mets, 2 outs. Derek Jeter on first in the 3rd, and Mr. October, David Justice. His 21st RBI in 29 World Series games, the 3rd RBI for Justice in the series, the 12th of the postseason this year. I told you he was Mr. October. We're tied at 1. Top 4, 1 out, still tied. Tino Martinez on first, and Paul O'Neill, who has become reborn in this series. One of his 3 hits. And O'Neill, don't call him old, his first triple in 70 career postseason games. Martinez would score on that to make it 2-1 Yankees. 2 outs, top of the 4th, runners on second and third. Jose Vizcaino, no magic in game 3. The 8th K for Reed, just 6 hits allowed in 6 innings, 2 runs. Meanwhile, bottom 5, El Duque in trouble, 2 on, 2 out. Edgardo Alfonso just can't do it against El Duque. The 9th K for Hernandez. Bottom 6 now, nobody out. Mike Piazza on second, Ventura on first, Todd Zeal. Would it be his time? Yeah. Piazza would score. Ventura would end up at 3rd on the double by Zeal, his 9th RBI in 12 postseason games this year. We're tied at 2. Bottom 6 still. Bases full, nobody out. El Duque, one of the best to get out of jams, gets Jay Payton. That's number 10. And then Mike Bordick, 4 for 30 in the postseason, no RBIs. And then Darrell Hamilton, the pinch hitter, grounds out to end it, and El Duque gets out of the jam. We're tied at 2. 2 on, 2 out in the 7th. Dennis Cook on in relief, gets Bernie Williams. We're still tied at 2. Bottom 8, 1 out, still tied at 2. Todd Zeal at first. Benny Agbayani has someplace else to go. He has a hit in every postseason game this year. He's hitting .349 in the postseason in Benny as he makes his manager Bobby Valentine look good by playing him instead of sitting him for a lefty hitter. The Mets take the lead 3-2. Still bottom 8, 1 out, runners on the corners. Bubba Trammell, your pinch hitter, taking the Mike Stanton pitch to center. Joe McEwing would tag and score to make it 4-2 Mets. Some insurance for you-know-who. The Mets closer. Man on first, 1 out, Armando Benitez. Derek Jeter, good location by Benitez with the inside heat. We have 2 away. Here we go, still same inning, 2 out, and Benitez bouncing back from his Game 1 nightmare gets David Justice to pop up to Alfonso to end it with Bernie Williams left standing on deck. Bernie was 6 for 7 lifetime against Benitez, but that's history as the Mets win. Benitez made Met fans sweat, but posts his 4th postseason save in 10 chances. The Mets can tie up this series Wednesday night back at Shea. Remember, in the last 2 Subway Series, the team that lost the first 2 games came back to win the series. The Yanks' World Series game win streak ends at 14. Todd Zeal, he's hitting .462 in this World Series. El Duque, he suffers his first loss
Stadium in Queens. Joe Torre, which buttons would he push correctly in this one? Well, Chuck Knobloch again, not in the starting lineup. Luis Sojo in the lineup. And so at the top of the lineup, hitting Derek Jeter on the very first pitch of the game, he homers off Jones. 16th leadoff homer in series history. First since Ricky Henderson in '89. First on a first pitch since Pete Rose in '72. Bottom first, one on. Denny Nagel to Mike Piazza, and that's awfully high, but it's just a long strike. Look at Piazza, not exactly Carlton Fisk. Same at bat. Nagel blows away Piazza. 3 Ks for Nagel in his stint of 4 2/3 inning. Top second, Yanks still up 1-0. Paul O'Neill. This is a man who had exactly 0 triples in his first 69 postseason games and now has 2 in 2 nights. Timo Perez kind of juggles it around. O'Neill would later come in to score. Got to walk home the last 90. Scott Brocious a sac fly. Yanks up 2-0. Top third, same score, and there's Jeter. And Derek Jeter is so cute. This one will stay in the park, but he too going to go 3 bags. He now has a 13-game World Series hitting streak. That's the 4th longest in the history of the Fall Classic. And who's there to watch him but A-Rod? Soon to be, maybe, Shea-Rod. Next batter, Sojo. Again, what do we say about Torrey? He gets a guy to drive in a run. Little grounder. Jeter scores his 18th run in 18 World Series games. The Yanks up 3-0. Bottom third, same score, 1 on Nagel against Piazza. And Piazza. This one is very, very fair. His 2nd homer of the series, 4th of the postseason. The Mets back in it, down just 3-2, a 2-run shot. Piazza 4 ribs in the series. Top 5th, same score. David Justice hits a grounder. And how about Edgardo Alfonso? You cannot spell glove without love. Mets get out of the inning. Home half of the 5th. Joe Torre decides to pull Nagel when he sees Piazza, and he brings in David Cone. Joe Torre, bravest man in the world. And Cone gets Piazza to pop up. It'd be a home run if we were playing in a silo, but we're not. We're playing at Shea. And Piazza now 1 for 4 lifetime against Cone. Top 6, 2 on, 2 out. Let's bring in Jose Canseco, who once had a 0 for 23 streak in the World Series. And Glendon Rush gets him looking. Canseco never takes the bat off his shoulder. Go to the bottom of the 6th, still 3-2 Yanks. 1 on for Benny Agbayani. Drove in the winning run in Game 3 Tuesday. In this one, right back at Chuck Nelson, the stab, and doubles off Todd Zeal. He is pleased with himself. Bottom 7, Mike Stanton. Winner in Game 1, facing Kurt Abbott. Stanton faced 2 guys, struck them both out. That was some high heat. Let's go to the bottom of the 8th. It's remaining 3-2. Mariano Rivera, you don't like to see that if you're the other team. And Alfonso hits one shallow, starting. First batter of the inning. Paul O'Neill is there for some defense. After that, he gets Piazza to ground out to Jeter. Todd Zeal would single, and Robin Ventura, he goes through the big hitters. This one popped up as well, and there is Derek Jeter. He gloves it. 8th inning over. The Mets with just 3 outs left. Bottom of the 9th. How about down to their last chance? Rivera facing Matt Franco, who just looks at strike 3. The Yanks bullpen, all quality. Piazza disappointed. Jeter gliding through the city again. Yanks win it by a count of 3-2. Their 3rd 1-run win gives them a 3-1 lead. Mets can find inspiration, though, in the '85 Royals. The last team to overcome a 3-1 World Series deficit beat St. Louis. Yanks pent 4 1/3, 2 hits, 0 runs, 5 Ks. Stanton, 1.08 ERA, the lowest by any reliever with 15 innings pitched in the series.
Number 5, Mike Piazza still loose, swiping down 3-1. Bernie Williams 0 for 15 in this year's series, just 8 for 68 in his career. Top of the 2nd, no score, no one on. Bernie. So much for the slump. Had been 0 for his last 22 in the World Series overall. He goes deep, Yanks up early, 1-0. Bottom of the 2nd, 2 outs, runners on 2nd and 3rd. There, your visual proof. Al Leiter. When a guy who hit .053 goes back to grab a different bat, you know something's up. And Leiter laying down the bunt. It was the bunting bat. Tino Martinez fields, throws to Pettit, who can't handle it. Bubba Trammell scores, game tied at 1. Replay confirms what we already suspected. It was an error. They charged the error to Pettit. Next batter, Benny Agbayani. Down the line, Scott Brocious. Tries to make the barehanded play, can't do it. Jay Payton scores. They give Agbayani a hit. It's 2-1 Mets. Joe Torre, well, a bit concerned. Top of the 3rd, 1 out. Andy Pettit due up. Got to take off the jacket, though. AL pitchers not entirely familiar with this hitting thing. 1-2 count, and Leiter gets Pettit swinging. Next batter, Jose Vizcaíno. He goes down looking.
6 retired in a row at that point for Leiter. Bottom of the 4th, 1 on, 1 out. Kurt Abbott, the sawed-off bat. Shades of game 2. Jeter cannot field it cleanly, but also manages not to throw it at anybody. And Mike Piazza, well, he's a bit amused by the hijinks. Top of the 6th, 2-1 Mets, 1 out, no one on. Jeter. Jeter had himself a series, taking Leiter deep, ties it at 2, and Leiter is not pleased. 14-game World Series hitting streak for Jeter. Bottom of the 6th, 2-2 game, 2 on, 2 out. Agbayani, Pettit jams him, gets on the grounder to short. Nice play by Jeter to end the 6th. Bottom of the 7th, 2-2 game, 1 on, 2 outs. Robin Ventura. That ends the inning. Pettit went 7, gave up 8 hits, no earned runs, struck out 5. Al Leiter looked good as well. Gets Jeter swinging, 2 outs. This in the 8th. And it's Bernie. He goes down swinging. Did have 2 hits in the game, though. So we go to the 9th. Leiter's still in there. Nobody out. Martinez, did he go around? Yes, he did. That is strike 3. 1 out. Next batter, Paul O'Neill. And Leiter gets him swinging. 9 Ks on the night for Leiter. 2 outs. Your next batter now, Jorge Posada. And Leiter walks him on a 3-2 pitch. Brings up Scott Brocious. Pitch number 141 on the night for Leiter. It's a base hit to left. So now 2 on, 2 out for the Yankees. John Franco is ready in the pen, but Bobby Valentine says he's going to go with the guy who brung him, Leiter. Pinch hitter Luis Sojo, the midseason acquisition, comes through up the middle. Jorge Posada coming around trying to score, and he is in there. It hits him, gets away from Piazza. Brocious scores as well. Yanks up 4-2, and Bobby V is bumming, consoling Leiter. Now bottom of the 9th, Mariano Rivera in there. 2 outs, 1 on. Piazza.
Now Rivera is set. And the 0-1 swung on, hit in the air to deep center. Bernie back, away back. He's there. He makes the catch. Ball game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Joe Torre leaving the field with tears in his eyes. The Yanks do it again. 3 straight, 4 in 5 years, 4-2 the final. They've now won 9 straight postseason games when Pettit starts. He's the youngest pitcher ever to have 4 rings. Leiter on the flip side remains winless in 11 playoff starts. Pitched very well, though. Mariano Rivera's 7th World Series save breaks Raleigh Fingers' record. Jeter, the MVP, that 14-game series hitting streak tied for 3rd all time.